So this is a typical question from the movie Sholay. Tumhara naam kya hai, Basanti? So if I'll ask again, Jubin, what's your name?
Sir, if you are asking, then I have to reply. But if someone else asking, then I will not reply.
Maybe you will reply in some different mode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The point here is, Jubin, the thing worth noting, if I'll ask you 10 times, your name will be same.
Yes, sir.
Your affiliation will be same, Jubin. But if I'll
Yes.
go ahead with that, Jubin, my basic purpose is, see, doing research is all fantastic. That's a wonderful thing. And now Aditya told you that you please go ahead, work on SLR, work on the theory, work this and that. Everything is fantastic, just fantastic. Let me give you one simile, Jubin. There is a case going on Mr. X against Mr. X. So there was an excellent debate in the court. They put all their arguments, counter arguments, etc. Wonderful evidences. Everything was done, and the X's sentence, some sort of sentence was given. And then it was discovered that X was actually the wrong guy. It was not X, means he was not X, he was Y actually, but everything is okay that X has done it, but the person is not X. Now, can you tell me, Jubin, what will happen of that particular case?
सर डेटा हमारा रिलायबल तो है पर वैलिडेट नहीं हो रहा इस केस में
I'm not asking for the validity reliability, Jubin. I'm simply asking for a simple thing from the law that if you book a different person and rest all the proceedings are excellent, your debates are excellent, everything is good, entire process is good, but the person is wrong, what will happen?
केस गलत हो गया सर फिर तो
So you will drop the case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, makes sense. So
Yes.
Point here is, Jubin, whatever you Aditya spoke about, that's really fantastic. But the point is, everything, you know, Jubin, I completed law last year. And now
Yes,
I always say to my students, we have approximately 3,500 to 4,000 laws in India. But when you go to the court, one law evidence is on one side, and on 399 these evidences are one side. How to prove it in the court? That's a big thing. The same thing, let's borrow in research. In the research, the variables are there. They have the relationship. You have SLR, meta-analysis. Everything is terrific. But how you will measure it? When you will measure it, my real concern is about measurement, Jubin.
Yes,
and the most important point here is, see, Zubin, when I ask 10 times, what is your name? It will be exactly same name. When I ask where you are registered for PhD, all 10 times it will be same.
Yes,
let me go a little ahead. I note down your weight 10 times a day, Jubin. So what do you think? It will be exactly same.
It will vary, sir. It will vary, sir. It will vary.
Okay. It will vary, might be in grams.
Yes, sir.
Okay, not like from 60 to 120 to 5 kg to, it won't be that. It means if you got weight is 65 kg, it will be 65.1, maybe after lunch 65.5, maybe somewhere in the night less. Okay, so there are minor fluctuations. Why there are the fluctuations? I'm not asking that oxygen content and those contents. A simple thing is, when you measure it again and again, we find one is the actual measurement, and plus there is some random variations are there. Random variation because of my instrument, you know, it might be because of that also. So you must have seen that when we go for purchase some sort of shop or even vegetables, when you put it, it will give you some number. You put it again, slightly the numbers will change.
Sir. Yes.
Slightly, well, that's okay, no significant difference, but numbers will change. But we understand, very important point, there is actual measurement and then there is some sort of measurement error. Measurement error means it's my error. Okay, so if I'll ask you a particular thing, that your shopping behavior, I ask you questions about that, Jubin. So it means we have done it in some of the workshop. You say strongly agree to the first one. To the second one, you say strongly agree. All are reflective, single-sided, no negative marking. Third one, you say agree. Now my point is, why you say agree? Why didn't you say strongly agree? Now we'll say, well, you know, the word is such or something like. We will actually enter into somebody's brain, Jubin, and try to find out what exactly is going on in the brain. And now there is something more important. So we established that there is something called actual measurement and then some sort of random minor variation. But certain variation might be there. Okay. So technically, if I'll ask you 10 times, what is your age? technically all 10 times age will differ. Maybe in seconds,
Yes, sir.
year,
Exactly, sir. Yes, sir.
month, day, hour, minute, second. So if I'll task
Second.
10 times, every 10 times, it should be different at least in seconds.
Yes, sir.
Okay, going ahead, I'm asking about your loyalty to any company, Jobin. 10 times I'm asking, what do you think? All 10 times your loyalty will be same?
No, sir. It
No.
will vary, sir, according
So
to
the
my
point
mood,
here is,
according to the day.
yes, certainly. On the lunchtime, you had a debate with somebody, and if I'll reach again, maybe you are very much disturbed, preoccupied. You say, please go ahead. I said, no, no, you promise you will. It means how to take away your mood from the actual responsibility. I'm coming from the same point that go back to my example of the court. If the person is not the same, your proceeding is excellent, your debates are excellent, everything is fantastic, but the person is wrong, entire case will be dropped. When you go
Exactly.
for A category general, Jubin, nobody is interested in your R square value.
वही बना ले ना
None.
चाय वही बना ले अभी बना थोड़ी देर 3
So there is some noise from
So nobody is interested in your R square value or your other things. People are interested, is it the right variable? How you measured, that's one of the most important thing. How you measured, and particularly when we work in the social science domain, the problem intensify like anything, because we know everything depends on that particular mood, that particular moment, and so many other factors. Most of the time we see that our life, which we feel we are the, in control, we are the real person who control our life, and our observation is even a third person on the street can change your life.
Yes, sir.
So some of the time
Yes.
we feel how you get motivated, and person will say a rickshaw wala made this comment, and then I said I will show you. My God, who was the rickshaw wala, who what he said, and it changed the direction of your life. How to
Yes, sir.
take away those particular minute things. This is what I am calling about the common method biasness. So let's understand there are the three things, Jubin. One is the actual measurement. That's okay. We are always concerned with that. If I'm getting that, that is called as the validity. If I'm getting the real truth, that's a validity.
Yes, sir.
But again, the same thing measured again and again
Yes, sir.
will not give me exact same precise thing. That's called reliability. Reliability means if I'll ask again and
Reliability. Yes,
again,
sir.
whether it's the almost same thing or not. And that's the measurement error. That's my error. That's my instrument is not robust enough that I can measure precisely thing. Okay, fair enough. But then the third one is, other than these two, validity, reliability, whatever else is coming up, whatever else, that is called common method biasness. So
Yes.
common method biasness plays a tremendous important role. Now it's not something I'm talking the first time, but everybody know, and everybody know it's something like Jubin, when we go to the temple, there are certain rituals. When you
Yes.
go to Gurdwara, there is some rituals. Some cloth must be there on the head, else you won't be allowed to enter, right? Likewise are the things here. When you write a paper in good journal, they will say, oh, common method. Yeah. I have used Harman method. Oh, that's okay. Neither the reviewer know, nor the writer know, nor the other people are really concerned. So it's some sort of the ritual. So it's not what I am saying. This been said by the remarkable papers that common method biasness becomes a sort of a ritual that you need to write 2 lines. Harman method was used. That's a pure bullshit. That's a pure nonsense, Harman single factor, and that's been buried years back. But since we know about that, we say, yeah, Harman method was used, and we checked. The reviewer also say, yeah, that's good. No, it's not good. It's not good at all. So if you simply look at the common method biasness, so many fronts will open. If you just
Yes,
look
sir.
for one thing, how to measure the truth, how to take out the truth, that's the most important thing. So let me share my screen and quickly go through certain thing. So what I will go through, number one, uh, will you give me this PPT or not? Okay, this PPT is available. There is a playlist, Common Method Biasness. You can simply write Neeraj Kaushik Common Method Biasness. And in every video, just below the video, you will find this presentation is available here. So I won't share it with Kuldeep or I won't put it any folder. It's available here. You just click below every video of this playlist, this common method biasness. Actually, it's a big one. I'm using a very short version of that. Okay, so let's go ahead with that, and let me close all these things. So quickly going through, I just talked about, if I'll ask you your affiliation, it will be same. Weight may be same, may not be same. So there is random. And if I'll ask you how happy you are, as you've been told, it depends on the mood, it depends on the timing, it depends on n number of things. So please look for, we are more concerned about validity and the reliability and method base than your actual result. What your results are there, okay, that's fantastic, we will talk about that. But before that, there are n number of checklist mechanism. Please tell me about that first. If you have not confirmed that you have measured the correct thing, I am absolutely not concerned about what the results are coming. It's the same thing. The court will ask about the identity of the person. If you are not clear about the identity of the person, what's the sanity of getting the entire legal process and doing all other things? So what is method biasness? So many people have worked. The first work was there in 1950s, and it's more than, I think, 60 years now. Then people are talking about that. But now we have, after 2010, a concrete methodology is available. I will talk about the methodology. I assume that you know about Amos. Might be some of you don't know Amos, who are the young research babies. Don't worry, babies. You just learn Amos and then come back to it. But there is something which you need to pay attention at the time of data collection. So this is the part of the research design I'm saying. In the research design, when you collect your data, whatever questionnaire, whatever variables you have, please have a belief, have a faith that biasness is mandatory part in my work. So there is something today, the common method biasness becomes synonymous with marker variable. We'll come to that. What is marker variable? It's a wonderful concept. But please remember, when you collect the data, there is something else you need to collect the data for. Those who have yet not collected the data, fantastic, you are at the correct moment with me. Those who have collected the data, it's okay. Next time, please be careful. Nothing can be done. There are methods you will find that there are some, I will divide these into two methods. First is a priori approach and post hoc approach. A priori means you already know that common method biasness will be there, and let me try to have some mechanism to check that. Second mechanism is, I forget to check that. I have my data collected. Now can I do something? And so many methods are proposed, and these methods are good for nothing, rejected by us again and again. So a priori method is the best method. When you collect the data, you need to be very careful about few things. When we study this concept, one person will come again and again, and his name is Podeskov. Actually, there are the two Podeskov, Philip Podeskov and Nathan Podeskov. They started working somewhere from 80s, and their recent paper is, I think, in 2010 or after that. This one is a remarkable paper available on ResearchGate. Please download that. Journal of Applied Psychology, one of the best journals. Common Method Biasness. It was written in 2003, a critical review and recommended practice. They simply give all detail what people do in the name of common method biasness and what should be done. So this is first paper which talks about the remedies. First, let's talk about the potential sources. By this, you will be convinced that whatever you are measuring, are you really measuring what you are looking, or something else? And please don't say that, we can't do anything, limitations of the, no. You need to think about it. Whatever you are measuring, is it exactly that thing you are measuring, or something else is coming up? So what are the potential sources? We are talking where from the biasness will come. What is meant by common method biasness? It means all of your variables will be affected by something. There is something else left out. So it means it will very closely connected to endogeneity. What is endogeneity? Endogeneity, again saying that how are you sure that whatever the variable between two variables are there, a relation between two variables, it is only because of that. Why you are so sure that there is not the third, fourth variable? It will talk about it will connect to the skill development. This particular thing will connect to the multi-level modeling. So you need to first think in terms of measurement, whatever you are measuring. Okay, don't be in a hurry. Take a pause, For a moment, please let's sit down and think about what can be the various sources of bias. The various sources of bias can be basically three. It can be the respondent, just like Jobin said, mood of the person. Perfect, yes, mood can be one thing. It can be scale, everything measured on the 5-point scale. Now, in my workshops, I have said it 1,000 times, please measure everything on the 5-point scale or everything on the 7-point scale. Now you will see, may not be a good idea. Maybe you should have something on 5-point, something on 7-point, and so on. And then context. Context is again the very important thing. The same person, the same question. I am asking the same question to the Jubin, and mood is same, everything is the same. Where I am asking the question, item context and measurement context will play a very important role. The three are the thing. Either it's related to the respondent or related to me, I'm making the scale, or related to the context when both are meeting and talking in that terms. Three things the biasness can come. What are the respondent issue? Well, for some time, let's delve into the area of psychology. I won't say it biology, but certainly I would like to enter into the mind of a person. What's going on in the mind of the person? Have you noted? Though you are on the mute mode, some of you might be chatting with somebody, but those who are quietly listening, actually you are also not listening to me. Your mind, you are simultaneously going, so many thoughts are going in your mind, and for every word spoken, there is some reaction coming in your mind. But that's it. We are, accustomed to that. The first point is phase of life. If you are passing through a very tough phase, you will get one particular concept of life. More of negativity, more of the positivity. You ask about anything. That's why the term they call is the honeymoon, seventh heaven, cloud 9. What is this? When you enter into a new relationship, you have full of expectations, you are full of wonders, enjoyment, etc. And if somebody asks you, see the life with a very positive glasses. When you are passing through a tough phase, you see the life with maybe some sort of gloomy glasses. Your phase of life will certainly influence every single thing, whether it's the motivation, whether the psychology, even investment behavior, even something else. All these things are influenced by the general philosophy of our life. Mood, yeah, that's no explanation. Everybody know that mood is something, some sort of chemical reaction, something is going on, and we behave differently at different times. This is a very famous quotation in psychology that says that it seems that there are so many people living inside me, and I don't know which person gets activated at what time. It's beyond my control. It's something like some other person has a button, press this button, the person will react this way or that way. Leniency bias. We are always biased towards the things, concepts which we know of. Have you noted this? Psychology say it's all, stupid to say I love you or I love that. No, we have never ever loved anyone else other than ourselves. We love ourselves to the core of our heart. Every person loves his or her language, area. You may be saying that it's a pathetic people, but you still love those people. When you go out, see, then you will be really come to know how much you love your language, your eatables, your eating habits, every single thing. You just love yourself. So if we find someone who's just like us, we will be very much biased towards that, and the responses will be very different than it should have been, it would have been. Acquiescence bias. If I'll, after you, please fill my questionnaire anytime, and you are doing just to, get rid of me. You say, please give me and just let me fill and please go. You want to just get rid of me just because of that continuous pressure. If you're doing something, the results will be very, very changed. Social desirability. I give example about LGBT. LGBT is a term used very frequently. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. In a country like India, these topics are still taboo topics. You are not supposed to talk about that, even with your friends, even somewhere else. It's a just total dead silence on this issue. I'm happy that the Supreme Court is taking some cognizance and working on that. Last year, if I'm not wrong, Supreme Court of India made it mandatory. In your forms, when you ask for gender, you need to write compulsory, male, female, then other or transgender or something. But social desirability means people gives a sort of an opinion is there of the society, and you also adhere to that one. So the true thing will not come out. It will be some sort of biasness will come out. Consistency motive. One concept of psychology says that we always try to be consistent because this is what is told to us. So might be I adhere to certain communities, certain traditions. So I will go beyond that. Maybe I don't follow them personally, but that's why you will find our own people, when they go abroad, their behavior totally changes. They are totally different person. You won't recognize those people. They will do everything they were prompted to, but here there is a consistency motive. They won't say, they won't accept we are doing it. Implicit theory, implicit correlation. Every single person use correlation and the regression in the most weird thing possible. Most weird thing possible. Like Karan Johar used to say that if I put my movies spelling starting with K, it will be hit movie, otherwise it will be flop movie. There is no logic for that, but so many people believe it. So people have their, from their life, they have decided something, they derived out certain correlation, however stupid it may seem to you, but for them it works. You must have heard of most of the shopkeepers, they are very superstitious because there is no logic. You are sitting at the receiving end. Someday there are flood of the people, someday there is no person, someday people are in good sale, no sale. They always try to find out the logic, what is happening. So today when I came, I put the puja 2 times, I have done this, dhupati, sale was good, I have not done, sale was bad, I wear red shirt, this happens, green shirt, this happens. All funny and stupid things you may think, but for them it works. All these things are there. Now when my motivation comes into picture, there are so many things happening, the mood, bias, desirability, etc. How can be sure of that my motivation will be actual motivation and not biased, not contemplated, not affected by all of this? Then there are the scale issue, item ambiguity. Now see, one tragedy, I will call it as a tragedy. If there is some ambiguity, just look at the kid. A young kid will always ask you a number of questions. What is this? This is not clear. This is not there. What is the way? Give an example. An adult will never ever ask for the doubt. Have you noted this thing? Adults, they automatically assume. they automatically assume. They know that the other person must be looking for this thing. Actually, they should pause. They should say, well, this person, this is not clear. I'm talking in terms of when you are getting a questionnaire filled by hand. I'm not talking about the web one. So people should raise that I am not getting this one. Can you give an example? This is not clear. What do you want to say? But people won't ask. Very few people will ask. Not everybody is like Jubin. People will say, no. Somebody will ask and then, my question will be answered. Or people will feel I'm stupid if I'll ask or something. So item ambiguity, that is very, very tragic. Common scale format and common scale anchor point. Common scale format means all the questions on the Likert scale. Now, the people who work with the common method biasness discipline, they suggest some of the questions should be on the semantic differential scale, others should be on Likert scale, others should be maybe some open-ended, some other format, etc. And anchor points, some on the 5 point, some on the 7 point, some on the 4 point or 6 point, like that. If you will, I will just show you why I agree to these people. Why, if you ask everything on the 5 point, why there will be some sort of biasness, I will just show you. So scale format and the scale anchors. So it seems whatever we have done so far, all is faulty. Seems like that. Positive and the negative item wording. A study was conducted and it was found out 10% of the respondent actually never understand that this was a negative statement. They couldn't understand it. Okay. People don't pay attention to. It's a sort of a selective perception. It's something like, despite the repeated things I have asked, somebody has asked, some of the people are not listening at all. Selective perception. When the command was given, they were busy doing something. And then they ask, what was that? It always happens. In another study, it was found whenever negative question was there, the response pattern was the same. It means, like there was a question about motivation. I said a negative statement. I said strongly disagree. When it is on leadership, I should actually read it and answer. People will say, no, there was another question and I replied strongly disagree. Here also I will reply strongly disagree without reading it. Consistency motive, a very bad consistency. Without reading, you developed your own consistency. Horrible. Item social desirability. There are some things where they require only one sort of the answer. That's the issue. Item demand characteristics. Some things which ask you to probe, to go through in your memory bank, which takes you, which put a load on you. You need to think over that. Now that people may not actually think, may give you the answer directly. That's one issue. Item context one. Item context means sequencing. Now this is really wonderful. I have done it, and I found, simply by this one example, my entire faith in whatever I'm doing was shaken. The example given in the book was, they said, you ask a person, how do you like your job? Person will say yes or no or something very good or this, and then ask, can you name any 5 things you like about your job? This is one. You understand that? I ask you, how do you like your job? If you are a research scholar, if you are a faculty member, if you are doing something else, how much you like your job? Rate from 1 to 10. Okay. And then I ask you, rate any 5 things about your job. In the second group, I just changed the sequence. I said, first question was, can you tell me any 5 things you like about your job? And the second question is, do you like your job? What is your point of view? Think over it. Will there be any change? The questions are the same. People are the same. We are very logical reasoning person based. So it will be the same answer, isn't it? Absolutely no. A big no. When you ask the question, how do you like your job? Somebody said below 5. When asked that please rate 5 points, they were not able to remember any 5 points. Just now you said, I don't like my job. How can you say 5 points? You will contradict yourself. Isn't it? Is it possible? You say, I don't like, I hate my job or anything, and there is other 5 things. There is a self-contradiction. So if asked this question and person says, no, I don't like, there will be nothing. Now, this thing is asked, what do you like about your 5 things you like about your job? The moment you answered those things, and when I ask you, do you like your job? How much? Your answer will compulsorily be more than 5, because just now you said these are the 5 things I like my job. How can I now say I don't like my job? Just 2 things I asked and changing their sequence drastically. It's something like I have a button. If I want this answer, I will put this sequence. I want this answer, I will put this sequence. Amazing. The way we look at the measurement is really we need to gain. I request you, please don't be in a hurry of publication or getting PhD or doing something. Please try to understand these fundamental questions. Something is going in your head. I want to know what is that, and only that. Rest all of the additional things I want to keep away. How to keep away? First, understand what's going in your head, and then we'll talk about the mechanisms. Context-induced mood. I'm asking about some very sensitive topics related to your community. I'm challenging you. I'm putting you in a very uncomfortable scenario. What do you think? How my questionnaire is going to be? If I, suitably, I irritate you to a level, then most chances are you will refuse to fill in the rest of this, or you will just fill in and say, get out. The point is, context-induced means even I don't know when we start and how it will turn up. I don't know. So particularly those things which are related to opinions, feelings, which are very close to your heart, or you don't want to debate on that. Anything that's related to your core areas, you don't want to debate that. It's okay that, you fight your parents maybe 100 times in a day, but you cannot see anybody else saying even a line about your mom or your father. You won't tolerate. You are fighting yourself. That's okay. That's your privilege, but other person cannot say. So context-induced mood will always, affect the response. Scale length, all of us have seen, the lengthier the scale, the shorter will be the lesser the number of the response rate. I always say, if you make a 2-page questionnaire, never have it on 2 papers. Have it on 1 paper on both the side. This way, when you give, person will say, please hold on, I will just fill and you please take it. If it is more than 3 pages, there is a large chances person will say, please keep it and collect it later. And people will just throw it away. higher the scale length, and I have actually worked on that, the same number of question, we put it in very small font or something, doing that on 2 page, on 4 or the 5 page. On the 5 page, questions were exactly same, only the page length was increased, response rate goes drastically low. That's why I always say to the these researchers, don't use the margins, use a small font, put it, try to stuff it onto the one paper, both the side, not more than that, should not be more than that, wherever possible. Intermixing of item of the construct of the questionnaire, no, that's a fantastic thing. We are so habitual, we do it. This statement taken from this scale, this taken from this scale, and it's actually a good thing. There are so many recommendations, we should go ahead with that. This is standardized scale, somebody else scale, you are using it, fantastic. But please be very, very careful. At times, they are not coming into the same construct. They are not nomologically same. It's okay. The point of view differs. For example, stress. One person has measured the stress from economics point of view. One has measured from biological point of view. One measured from the spiritual point of view. Scale variable is the same, but you cannot just take their statement and make one construct. You can't. This will be meaningless. So these problems comes. Item embeddedness. Item embeddedness means when you are asking too much in one. So the point here is, please see, and this all of us do so frequently. At least faculty members do it very frequently. I am taking my feedback about my theory, my tutorial, my lecture, and there is only one feedback form. And this is actually a number of they have done. Colleges, they are actually doing it. Even today, there is one feedback form for a teacher, for a subject. But at least in my institute, we are having 3 feedback forms, one for lecture, one for tutorial, one for practical, if it is practical based. Otherwise, compulsory lecture tutorial. And then something else about the teacher. It means why you have believed if you are good at the theory, you will be good at the tutorial also, and you will be a good human being also. No, it can be quite different. What you are asking, how can you simply say that if I am very good at the theory, I must be good with the tutorial? No, not possible, may not be possible. I'm not saying not possible, may not be possible. Item embeddedness means you have put so many things into one. A person wants to say good to this, bad to this, not possible. It says only one statement is there. Measurement context, variables measure at the same point in time. Again, see, if your mood is bad, then all the variables are biased. Variables measured in the same location. Yes, have you noted it? Have you noted it that the location plays a very important role in your thinking? So generally, if you go anytime to Gujarat, Ahmedabad, etc., there is a one tradition they maintain that keep your shoes outside the home. What it means? It simply means it's not about the shoes or they're very extra careful about hygiene. It's in a symbolic form of keep your worries outside your home. Don't bring your office things to home. What it means? Have you simply noted down that simply if you step out of your shoes, you remove your shoes, you are so much relaxed. I don't know whether you have seen it or not. If not, please do it. Just on a holiday, just keep your boots on and see whether it changes your mental state or not. Just keep your, so when you are in the office, just make it an experiment. Take out your shoes and sit in the office and then take on the shoes. Your mental level will change. There are the small things we have attached. So it means when I'm in office, I'm a totally different person. If I'm in a playing ground, I'm a different person. When I'm in a restaurant with friends, I'm a different person. When I'm at my home with parents, I'm a different person. It means where you are asking the question, that will also result into the biasness, some sort of changes there. And asking through the same medium, all questions asked by questionnaire, all questions asked by email, all questions asked by interview method or something else, that will also affect. So it seems it's a very grim situation. It seems that there is no way out, and whatever we are doing, it's all bad. Not really. It's not like 100 will become 500, not like that. But certainly 100 will become 102 or 105. This much gap will be there, and it's not about that. You will say non-significant gap. It's not. It's whether when you are going for research, Have you used the procedure or not? Might be the result comes out as there was no gap. That's a fantastic. But you cannot simply say, no, I have not used and that's immaterial. No, you cannot use. That's not the right procedure. That's not the scientific approach. The scientific approach means you must go through a procedure. So how the method bias affects? When I'm talking particularly about the survey method, when I ask you certain questions and when you reply, shall we do a sort of a example that how it's gone in your mind? Okay, let me ask you a question. Before that, let me quickly show you how the mind works. Brain or mind? Mind. Mind is the software, brain is the hardware. How the mind functions. First is comprehension. Hope you are listening to me. When you are listening to me, I'm just producing sounds. I'm producing sounds. You are deriving meaning out of it. Yes or no? For example, if there is someone who doesn't know English, for that, I'm just putting out certain voice. I'm saying something, and it means nothing to that person. Okay, sound is the same. So who is making meaning? Am I making meaning or you are making meaning? I think you are making the meaning out of my words. I'm just saying something. Hope we are at the same frequency. So you are getting meaning. So one is comprehension. With the comprehension, the second thing comes as the retrieval. Now here, I would like to share with you one very fantastic thing, mind-blowing thing. You have heard about the fingerprints? Everybody has heard about it. Very few person know that fingerprint actually started in India and then it went to the England. But the new thing is mind print, just like the fingerprint, mind print. So what it is, how it works. So one of the property of your mind is when I speak any word, your mind take out all information related to it, whether you want it or not. For example, I said Maruti car. Simply by said Maruti, n number of things that are there in your data automatically comes because it may be required. It may be required to you. So my mamaji has a Maruti car. I sold this car. I saw yesterday. These are very not safe. Safe these cars. These are very economic. This is so many data in your mind that's there that automatically pops up without your active effort. And best thing is you can't control it. So how these scientists, they put the theory of this mind print. They said that we can use it to identify who's the real culprit. So they put their proposal to FBI. So FBI said, okay, we will give you 20 people. Can you tell which two are our agents? 18 are the normal guys. And they said, yes, we will do that. So 18 people were, put 20 people. They were put into some lab. Some sensors was put on that. And they were shown the random figures. When they are shown the random figures, like park is there, hill is there, road is there, railway is there, something. So everybody is, the meter is the same. Then one thing was shown inside the FBI office. Inside the FBI office, where only the agents could know, none of the other person know this is the interior of that. So for the other person, it was must have been another building. But for the FBI agents, that was actually quite a high reading was there because their mind recognized this is office I visit. Okay, then something else, and then a service revolver used by the FBI person. Again, the reading was very high. The scientists precisely told these are your two people. And how they propose it? They say we can use it for the crime investigation. If you got the 10 suspect, we will show you the random picture of the crime scene. The person who was at the crime scene must know it, and the mind, you cannot stop it. So that's sort of retrieval. Fantastic. With the retrieval, very close connected is the judgment. You are getting the data and you processing data simultaneously going on in your mind. Then you choose one response and then you report it. Fantastic. Jubin, are you with me? Okay.
I don't think, sir. I don't think he's there.
Jubin is there, but he's on mute mode. Okay, no problem. So there's a question I will ask. Everybody can reply. What is your frequency of taking the fast food? And you have to answer in never, almost never, occasionally, almost everything. Let's assume I enter into the Jubin's mind and let's see how it goes. The first thing is, it's okay, Jubin, absolutely no problem. You can just think of your mind. I'm entering your mind. So your frequency of taking the fast food. Well, what do you mean by fast food? Is it talking about the dosa or utpam or idli or something? I'm not very sure what is fast food, but okay, what is that? What is frequency? Okay, how frequently I eat fast food? Never. No, no. How can it be never? Well, it's not me. It's Jubin's mind is processing. Hypothetical. So never. No, no. I have taken fast food a couple of times, and it cannot be every time also, because every time means I only eat fast food. Almost every time may not be. Almost never. I don't. But I eat idli a lot. But utpam I have never ate. So maybe sometimes, maybe almost never. Something. What is going on here? Basically, the thing going on is comprehension. I made a query to Jubin. First thing, my query is not clear because I have not defined what is fast food. There can be 100 more items in the fast food. Then so many things, and in the milliseconds or in the microsecond, mind is processing so many things. Retrieval, judgment, again retrieval, judgment, but this is not fast food, this is fast food. So finally, okay, he's waiting, I must answer now. What is the response selection? And then you give answer. So many things are happening side by side parallelly. That's why it's called, the none of the supercomputer can match our mind, any ordinary person's mind. It's the supercomputer, human brain, human mind. So much is happening side by side. So if you look at the what sort of biases are there, well, plenty and plenty of biases are there. Comprehension, the biggest problem is item ambiguity. I asked, what is your frequency of fast food? I'm not defined what is fast food. Am I talking about dosa? I'm talking about some sort of other popcorns, corns, or something else. I've not defined that. So how can you, I expect you will give me the correct answer. Or you may say, well, that is not relevant, but fast food are so many. So the activities involved in the comprehension state is attend to the question and the instruction, and the problem is the item ambiguity. The second is retrieval. Am I asking a general fast food? Am I asking, if I change it, how often you eat dosa? Now that's a specific memory. And given that Jubin has never ate dosa in his lifetime, answer will be very simple. A specific memory was asked, and dosa never ate dosa. For example, some of you, I can ask about non-veg, and your very quick answer will be non-veg. No, 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 no. Where is never? Never. Tick on the never. It's very simple. Context is there. Item, what is the item? What is the way of the measurement? Have you noted? When we talk about the 5-point scale, you will find, just check it out, how many people actually say strongly agree in your case. How many people say strongly disagree on your case? Maximum you will find there around 3, 2, 3, 4. This will be the maximum. This will be the maximum you will find. Take a construct and take its mean. Its mean will be almost a 2.5, between 2.5 and 3.5 most of the time. This is my experience in last 2 decades. Take anybody's work. Most of the time you will find the mean is coming at the center. And why so? This is coming because of people hesitate in giving the extreme values. Because remember, you have to consistently say the same thing.
Oh, koi jaldi nahi pone.
The next one is the judgment. Judgment means assess the completeness, accuracy, inference, so many things that's going in parallelly in your mind. And here the respondent related bias is there. I asked the same question to a kid. I asked the same question to an old age person. I asked the same question to the followers of Baba Ramdev. You have a philosophy of your life, and that philosophy of life will actually have a large impact on your judgment. Actually, you are already have the answer. So many times, even before our answering completing the question, people answer my question. That means they have strictly, this is particularly called predisposition of behavior in a given circumstance. This is the circumstance, you will always react like this. That is your attitude. And then you found, okay, what he has asked for, you give. Scale typically affect it. Context will affect it. Format of the question will definitely impact it. And response reporting. So the next point is response reporting, means whatever you will say, that will go ahead with whatever you have spoken so far. Consistency, desirability, acceptability, the things which are okay. We never like to contradict other person. Generally, we don't like to contradict other person. We don't like to fight. We agree. So there, the consistency and the social desirability bias will come into picture. And the thing is, you can not remove that. So here the question comes, okay, how to go ahead? Is the situation so grim then? It seems like nothing can be done. It's a horrible scenario. Should we not working in social sciences? No such thing. There are procedures and people have been working on it from the last 60, 70 years. Just see what very initial attempts were there. By the way, do you know who was the first person who said, when you work on the scale, beware, it gives you some sort of errors? Cronbach, the same Cronbach alpha, which we refer for internal consistency. Cronbach said that the way you frame your questions will again have an impact on the measurement. Cronbach, 1954, he said this thing, that this will be, please beware of that. The remedies can be categorized under the 2-3 heads. One is procedural remedy, one is statistical remedy. Statistical will talk about certain tool technique, and statistical will involve some sort of your prior knowledge. It requires certain knowledge. Particularly one thing which I say again and again in the entire research, in all my sessions of research, I always stress, never believe R. R will always give you very, very misleading things. Take one example. In a study, it was observed that as the weight of the participant increased, their IQ increased. Think about it. As the weight of the participant increased, their IQ increased. Now that can be a good news for Kuldeep. He's gaining weights these days, so must be his IQ is increasing. But to many of you, it doesn't make sense how weight and IQ are related. It's actually related. Don't say it's not related. How it is related? I've not given you the complete context. The complete context is the study were done for the young babies, very young age. Look at the young age. Actually, what is happening as the age of the baby increase, the IQ increase. Does this make sense now? 2-year baby, 3-year baby, 4-year, 5-year baby. As the age of the baby increase, IQ of the baby increase. Makes sense. As the age increases, weight increases. Makes sense. So if you simply note down for the young baby, age and the weight, actual age, actual weight, take the 10, 20, 50 baby, R will be very high. R will be very high. It doesn't mean that if your weight increase, then your IQ will increase. Does not make. It means both are influenced by another thing called age. So never ever believe R. R will not give you the true picture. Remember, it's small r. No, neither it's a small and nor it's a simple coefficient of linear correlation. It's very, very complicated. Most mysterious thing in the entire statistics is R. So what is the way out? Partial R. Partial R is the way out. That's denoted by R12.3. Relation of the two taking away, controlling for the third, fourth, fifth, sixth variable. That's partial R. So statistical, we'll talk about maybe that. Let's talk about the procedural first. Procedural, actually 3 are the things, and all 3 are a complete word in itself. These days, I am putting some videos on multi-level modeling, and multi-level modeling really changed the way we think. The way we think, it totally changed. If possible, I will try to connect to it also. Skill development. Skill development is a very, very serious issue. Simply writing 10 papers on the question on the page don't become its scale. Scale is a very mature word. When you say scale, it means you are trying to convert qualitative data into quantitative. Something is going in your head. Loyalty, your happiness, your politics, your intention. It is nothing. It's intangible. It's in your head only. I want to put into a number. I want to make policy on the basis of that. That's a scale. Converting the qualitative aspect into quantitative. And the research design. Research design is a bit simpler. So let's start with the first one as the research design. So these are some of the procedural things what we should go ahead with, like obtain the measure of predictor and criteria variable. Now, what is a predictor? Predictor means it's an independent variable, and criteria means it's a dependent variable. Let me use my board. So this one is IDV and this one is the DV, criteria related. So a simple thing is different sampling units. If you simply look for this particular word, your thinking will change totally. Different sampling units. Don't ask all the things from the same person. Ask something from somewhere, something from somewhere. I will just show you some papers for that. Temporal, proximal, psychological, or methodological separation. Temporal separation means you measured IDV and say, okay, DV I will measure after the lunch. Maybe tomorrow I will come, I will measure it tomorrow, provided it's possible for you. Proximal means how much proximity you are. Maybe let's change the somewhere else. Let's go for a cup of coffee. Ask the second question into the canteen. Psychological, put some sort of maybe now that I am doing this. Psychological, person is the same, questionnaire, you are the same. Psychologically, now that you have spoken about that, let's do this. Something, some context, etc. is given, some drama is done, something is done, and just break that psychological tone, that mood, and change that. Same person, same place, same time period, but change it psychologically. Methodological, methodology means any method adapted that creates some sort of thing. Let this question we all will sit together. This question all will sit separately. Now make a pair of the two. Now answer this question. Methodological sort of separations. This is at the different time period. One particular thing that happens in case of questionnaire, or a better word is schedule. You remember the word schedule? Schedule is the questionnaire which you actually reply. No, you don't reply. Questionnaire, people reply. Schedule is you ask the question and the person will answer and you note it down. Just think of an illiterate person. So it's not, we don't give questionnaire, we give schedule. Schedule means you from that you will ask the question, person will reply, you will tick next question. So problem with the questionnaire is all the time you are there watching that person. that frequently happens with the feedback forms. Your students have the feedback form and you just stand there like this or like this. Okay, go on, fill the form. Nobody will fill the feedback form if you are standing there and staring at those people. Have you noted that if you sometime you are on the exam duty, you just stand near one student and start reading what he or she is writing in the notebook. The person won't be able to write anything because a feeling that somebody is evaluating me at the moment I'm writing a word, it's very, very embarrassing. It's a very, very different feeling. People won't be able to write. So that sort of, you need to give anonymity. You must declare, well, see, there is nothing good or bad. There is nothing, no judgment is there, absolutely no evaluation. Please feel which is the correct one. It's perfectly okay. Most of the people feel like that and perfectly okay. You need to announce that person. Anonymity must be maintained. Please don't take their phone number, email ID, etc. Please tell them that there is no evaluation apprehension if you are there. The same thing will become what happens in the email. Nobody is evaluating in the email. Well, then it has its own challenges then. Counterbalancing question order. I told you about the question order, how to put the sequence of the question. That's very, very serious. And that's precisely the domain of the pre-testing and the pilot testing. For most of the people, you go on the data collection and the first 30 is called as the, or maybe first 4 is called as the pilot testing. Next 26 or 30 are called as the pilot testing and go on. Absolutely not. Pilot testing is not like one-side job. Pilot testing means you need to do it again and again, change it, then again, change it this way, that way, etc. There is so much to be done here, improving the scale item. And then again, improving means again, go back to the pilot testing, check it again. That's why I'm saying making a scale is a very big thing. It's a very, very big thing. Now, do you know, just with one drop of your blood, we can take out the 60 sort of the various things about DNA, about the various indicators, just with one drop of blood. But 20 years back, that was not the scenario. So somebody will tell that from this, we can do this also. A new method is developed. So that must be very, very robust method. Likewise, when you propose, I propose a new scale. It means first tell what was lacking in the previous scale. And there are so many, there is a 7-step process for the scale development. You need to work on that. This thing is very, I will just show you. So the next one comes out as the improving the scale item. So there are some things given, very self-evident. define the ambiguous or unfamiliar term. Wherever possible, make it a habit of defining like this. Example, for example, this is the thing. This scenario, this context, this thing. Write some sort of subheading, something along with your lines, so that whenever there is any sort of ambiguity, the person can refer to, okay, in this context, the person is referring to. When I'm talking about the income, am I talking about the annual income, monthly income, my income, household income, me and my wife income? What exactly is my say? You simply say income. What is income? Whose income? On what basis? You must define that. Avoid vague concept and provide example when such concepts are used. Keep simple. Keep questions simple, specific, concise. Avoid double barrel. Well, I really love it. Avoid double barrel. And I have met so many people. They talk about this null hypothesis and say, can't you make some better words? See, what is null hypothesis? No relation. Null hypothesis. And then we write, the researcher failed to reject the null hypothesis. Can you just coin how many negatives are there in this statement? There is a null hypothesis, there is no difference. That reject means there is a difference, and we fail to reject. What it means? So many, we fail to reject the null. So many words are there, so it is so confusing. And people say, you know, it gives me always a headache. What exactly you want to say? Can't you say it in simple terms? Double-barreled question. Don't you think not going to school will lead to this? What are you asking? Why you don't ask it in simple terms? Double-barreled means double negative. Decompose your question into one or maybe simpler focus question. Don't ask two questions. Please tell me about me, and if bad, tell me about this. If good, tell me about this. Can't you make it separate questions? Why you are putting all in one question? Improving skill. Avoid complicated syntax, the way you write. Eliminate social desirability, etc., or demand characteristics, etc. This is asking too much. Please, if possible, change it. Different endpoints, scale anchor points, or the formats for predictor and this one. Please see it. We will just show you some of the papers. Predictor and criteria must be measured on the different format, different anchor points wherever possible. It's actually a good thing. I know I have said in the workshop you should have same, but now it must be changed. Try to have the bipolar -3, -2, -1, 1, 2, 3 this way, or the verbal labels provide to that. Okay, most of the time people will write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is 1? What is 5? I'm not clear. And if it is 6, 7, what is meant by that? Maybe verbal label will be important. So this is one paper, a very good paper in this way. Interpersonal deviance and abusive supervision, mediating role of supervisor, negative emotion, and moderating role of subordinate organization. Such a lengthy topic. So this is published in Journal of Business Ethics. Gabi Esa, Scott, and Ritu Gupta. So I talked to Ma'am Ritu Gupta. I said that if I can use her paper in the videos, and she was kind enough, she allowed me. So this is the paper, Interpersonal Deviance and Abusive Supervision. Now what this paper talks about? The paper talks about like this. There is a subordinate interpersonal deviance. It leads to supervisor negative emotion. It leads to abusive supervision, and this particular thing is moderated. It might be you are not from HR area. Don't worry. Even I'm not from HR area. What is the variable that we are not discussing? I'm just discussing the method. Subordinate interpersonal deviance leads to negative emotion, leads to abusive supervision. It means this particular thing is mediating the relation of this. So H1, first hypothesis is interpersonal deviance lead to supervisor negative emotion. Second, negative emotion leads to abusive supervision, second hypothesis. Third, negative emotion mediates this one, that is the third, hypothesis 3. Hypothesis 4, subordinate citizenship behavior moderates this relationship. And hypothesis 5 is moderated mediation. This effect will also go there. How they commence? The author said we have done it in 2 waves, 2 time periods. The first time period is it was employee was taken to ask this. In the first study, only employee is taken, and 3 variables were taken: subordinate interpersonal deviance from employee, supervisory negative emotion, as well as the abusive supervision. So employee is telling about the supervisor here. Employee is telling about the negative emotion of the supervisor. employee is telling his or her interpersonal deviance. In the second study, which was conducted after some time, supervisor was asked about the supervisor subordinates interpersonal. So I was asked about myself, and then by my boss in the second wave tell about me. Here, supervisor negative emotion. I told in the first instance about my boss. In the second one, my boss talked himself or herself about himself or herself. Abusive supervision. In the first one, I talked about my boss. Second, my boss talked about himself or herself. In the second study, subordinate citizenship behavior was measured only from the supervisor about the employee. There were some sort of the control variable. In case of the first study, the control variables were taken as the age, gender, organization tenure with the supervisor. How many years you are in the present organization, and out of which how many with the current boss, age and gender. In the second one, where supervisor was taken, it was about the conscientiousness and the task performance. Task performance was given by supervisor, how the person performed, and conscientiousness was given by the employee. Can you see their research methodology or the research design? Thinking about which variable and which will be the best to take with. Okay, so it means to take the data from more than one person. Let's see how they go written this paper. So stressor, emotional intelligence, etc. Right? So they first define it. Now there will be some sort of, I think they will start from here. Subordinate, interpersonal behavior, and supervisor negative emotion. You remember, review of literature is always written in section, and every section must conclude with a hypothesis, preferably. At least this is what the procedure is there of the journals. Some of you are asking that how should we write? Aditya gave it a very correct answer. You should write as per the journal. If you are writing the thesis, ask your supervisor, because not all the universities in India follow the same pattern. When you are writing, look for the previous papers of your journal. Follow absolute, just follow guidelines. So first one, subordinate, interpersonal deviation, and supervisor negative emotion. So write the review of literature. It concludes with hypothesis. Subordinates, interpersonal will be positive associated with this one. Okay. Second one, supervisor negative emotion and abusive supervision. So both are related, positive related. Third, there is a mediation role also. Moderating role of subordinate OCB. So there is a moderating role. There is a moderated mediation also. How they went ahead. Let's read this one. In the first wave, they said we invited at least approximately 500 employees. We asked them that you please come to here. We obtained a list of the participants from the alumni database maintained by the business colleges. Participation was strictly on the voluntary basis. They were assured about the anonymity, and it's used only for the resource purpose, and so on. The online survey was conducted in English, since they were very comfortable with English. There were no incentive given except when they asked help from something else. The data was collected at 2 points, T1 and T2. In the T1, they measured interpersonal deviance and demographic. Remember, interpersonal deviance is the independent variable, demographic is the control variable. First wave. Second wave, they talked about after a month later, supervisor negative emotion and abusive supervision. Who is the respondent? Employee. Employee first talked about only IDV. In the second, 1 month later, it was talked about the supervisor negative emotion and abusive supervision. They were collected. Then in the second study that will come next, and these are the things that they asked. Generally, you will find almost always 99% in the high-end journal, they use the standardized scale. I say it again and again, scale building in itself is equivalent to one thesis. Simply scale building is one thesis in itself. That's such an mature process. It's not like I do studies and for every one I make my own scale, which nobody use, only I use that. So Bennett and Robinson scale was there for interpersonal deviance, that was taken. The second, supervisor negative emotion, it was the 7-point scale. They used PANS. We will talk about it a little later. Positive and negative affect schedule. This is PANS X. For abusive supervision, there was the Tapper's scale was taken. Control variables were age, gender, this. Then they went ahead, they used, shown this mean, standard deviation, variations, use the process macro. Process macro works, process is a macro is given by Professor Hayes, is part of SPSS. You can add up mode mediator affected by this and dependent affected by all, including the mediator also. They wrote about this. Second sample. Study 2 was conducted to replicate and extend the finding of, so nobody else is telling them, they themselves are checking whether my paper, my results are up to the mark or not. Let's check it from the different perspective. Get it? This is the point which will take it to the higher end journal. I am challenging my work. I am challenging that I have measured this. You know, when asked about X says this. Let me ask about X boss about the same variable. Now, people have asked even, you know, how much stress you are. They asked from the employee and they asked same question from their spouse also. So again, certainly it's a serious job. Getting this much permission, going, etc. It requires lot time. But then, as Aditya told, you have to give 2 years, 3 years for one paper. It's just like a thesis in itself. It's not like, I was surprised to see somebody is asking, can I write a category in 8 months or something? Means you already have set your target. In target is not important. Publication is not important. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey of going through that. There is nothing at the target. Okay, you will surpass the target, but enjoy the journey. See what is happening there. How can you extract the truth from somebody's head? That's the real fun. That's the real thing. So in this study, the data was collected from employees and their supervisors from a variety of organizations. So the focal employee survey, they contained of abusion, conscientiousness, that was in the second one. Conscientiousness, the person, employee responded. Abusive supervision, the employee responded. While the supervisor survey contained measure of subordinate interpersonal deviance, independent, again measured from that perspective. Might be the person is not telling me truth, so take the data from the boss also. Supervisor, negative emotion. Earlier you asked about the boss from the subordinate. Now let's ask himself. Do you recall 360-degree appraisal? You take a data from all the things. Subordinate OCV and subordinate task performance. So obviously there can be a mismatch. 99 were there from the employees, 195 from this, only 175 usable response where the pair was matching. I replied, my boss also replied. Certain cases I replied, boss didn't reply, or vice versa, they rejected that. So this was taken, and on the basis of that they worked. How to take those things? They again went for the standardized scale. Supervisor Bennett and Robinson scale was taken for interpersonal deviance. For whose? For subordinate interpersonal, there is a minor change. Earlier it was interpersonal deviance for myself. Now deviance for the subordinate. OCB was measured by Moorman and Blackley. Negative emotion was measured by the same Penes. Abusive supervision was measured by the Ambrose statement, etc. And now here is one very interesting thing. This shows that paper might have been rejected. As one reviewer suggested, employees with certain personality traits are likely to engage this. We controlled for employees' consentness. It means it seems like somebody has said that why don't you do this way, etc. Reviewer suggested. See, this is not the input from any author. This is from the reviewer. And then they controlled again and then again published it. So this is the result of the second study. And in the second study, again, they use the process macro and then they work for the discussion, etc. The point here is, please try to think in terms of more than one source, more than one time period, measure the time period at the different variable, dependent, independent, mediator at the different time periods. Try to have that as far as possible. This is one very good remedy of the common method biasness. This is something which we can control. This is in our hand. I perfectly understand it will increase your task. You have to go to a person 3-4 times. People may not give time and all those blah, 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 blah. Yes, I understand. But look for, you are aiming for the A category. No? You are not aiming for any conference journal. And more than that, see, these categories will come and go. Something else will come. Something else will come. Don't focus on the output. Problem is when you focus on the output, I want this, you are in a trap. If you enjoy the thing, then all these milestones will come and go, and you will really, really be far ahead. Enjoy the journey, enjoy this process. That's far more important. The next we'll talk about the statistical remedies. Statistical remedy, I will just show you because I think we should stop now. I will just quickly go through that. What are the peoples that worked over the years, because I won't touch that. Then tomorrow morning I will start with what you should do. Okay, so let me quickly go through this. This is a plethora of techniques to confuse you. There are a plethora. Remember, it's a 60-70 years old concept, and generally the old people have a lot of stories to tell. So first one is here, your favorite, Harman single method. Harman single method, what it says, it simply says take all the variables, all the data of your variable, run the EFA, and extract only one factor. Extract only one factor, and if it is more than 50%, there is a method biasness. If not, there is no method biasness. Be happy, report it, and feel good. Now, those who have attended any of my workshop where we actually take factor analysis like regression to the dissection table, we do some sort of look at the anatomy of this, what is happening inside it, just like we open every single thing. If you know about the factor analysis in detail, how it is concluded, you will very clearly, you will recognize what you are talking about. Are you really kidding? If there are only two constructs, so you obviously, I hope you remember that first factor takes the maximum share, but maximum share is not always more than 50%. It depends on how many constructs you have. If you have 10-15 statements, the first one, 3-4 constructs are there, the first one will take 30 to 40%, still majority, but never 60%, still majority. If you got 10 constructs are there and you are running EFA on the 10 constructs, the first construct will still take, but something like 20%, 25% also. If 3 constructs are there, the first construct will take a majority. It means if you are working with the 5 constructs, you apply Harman method, for sure it will tell you absolutely no problem is there. So are you really kidding by saying that Harman method applied? Don't you know that Harman method will never tell you if your constructs are 5 or more? It will never tell you any sort of biasness. And secondly, even if let's consider it comes more than 50%, then have you controlled it? What measures you have taken to control it? And biasness was there because of what? Because of consistency, because of item problem, because of the so many problems we discussed. where is the solution? Saying that the biasness is there and thank you. No, that's not the way. This should not be done. Okay. Second one, correlation marker approach. Okay, they said yes, we understand it happens. But the problem is how to measure it. The question that's going on everybody's head is, well, we understand and we actually knew. You didn't tell me anything new. We know all these things. People are so, moody. People may not tell you the truth. You ask the same question at different time period, different answers will come. That's why you remember when you are a young kid, you always knew when is the correct time you should talk to your parents so that they consent. You have something, you want to go to a movie, you want to go to the picnic, you want something, a new cell phone or something else. What is the right time I should ask? Most of us knew what was the right time. Okay. And if you have a kid, let me tell you, all of your kids, they know what is the right time to press your buttons when you will say yes. And nobody has taken any tuition for that. Okay, they haven't gone through any YouTube tutorial that what are my papa's button, how to press my papa's button, he will say yes. No, they know it from experience. So the same is the case here. People said, okay, we know there are some sort of biases are there. So what we'll do? So one school of thought said, you do one thing. Out of the 5 variable, take out the whatever the minimum R is there between any 2 constructs. Okay, you got 5 variable, look for the minimum R, consider that as common method biasness. Okay, and remove that much from everything. How to remove? Let me tell you one thing. This was the time of very good people, very easy sort of the people. So let me press W and let me make it. This is 1, 2, second construct, third construct, fourth construct, and the 5th construct. And all need to be connected with each other. Everyone connected with everyone. So it will take a lot of time. I don't have a plugin of Professor Gaskin here. So I assume all are connected with each. Note down what is the smallest correlation. Let's say smallest correlation is 0.4 with these 2. A, B, C, D, E. Now what is said that, okay, if this one comes out as 0.8, what it means? Do its square. Their common is 64% are the common, because R square, 64% are the common variation. Now believe it, whosoever is the smallest, do its square, 16%. Reduce 16% from it, assuming that this one comes out as because of the common method biasness. Okay, that's okay. But what the wrong D and E have given? Since there, do you see, it will be 16 minus 16, and you will assume they got the 0. So at least for sure in this method, you are ready to sacrifice at least one variable or one relation, because you will say something must be sacrificed, right? Whosoever is the weakest, let's sacrifice that, and let's say this one. Again, not a very good technique. Certainly anybody can say it's not a very good technique, but yes, we can appreciate people actually start thinking. People started thinking of doing something, but we don't appreciate doing this sort of thing. This is called as correlation marker approach. Find out the weakest correlation and remove that. Okay. Partial correlation approach actually got a lot of popularity. Partial correlation, you remember partial correlation? The real relation, I just said that the weight and IQ, they are related, but they are not related. Control field for their age. So we find out the here, we write the term, it's called as the partial correlation, partial R. We find between these written as R 1 to 0.3. 0.3 means 3 is the age. Controlling the effect. How to control that? So actually there is a procedure. Now there are softwares which you directly, otherwise you take its residual, regress it on age, regress IQ on age, and take the R of the residual. That's partial R. Now that's good. The technique is good. So how they did it? Oh, I'm sorry. So let's quickly go through that. This is what we will use. We will use CFA marker approach and latent variable. These are we'll work with. This one we apply in AMOS, and this one we apply in Smart PLS. So whatsoever user you are, whether you use AMOS or Smart PLS, this technique, fully developed, fully functional, appreciated. It's perfectly okay. When I was talking to some of my friends, they said, we have never heard of CFA marker approach or this approach. We simply go and it's everything. This was given by in one of the paper. They said it becomes a sort of a customary that reviewer will ask a question. Reviewer also has a checklist. Have you applied any method for common method biasness? The person will say, yes, I have applied Harman. Reviewer will say, okay, both are happy. Despite the fact this is totally rejected one, but we both are happy. Yeah, we have done our job. Harman single factor, extract one factor. It's I have abridged version of this PPT here. On the videos, you will find a very lengthy where I details the failures, problems they have discussed. I have made a very small PPT here. This is the second one. Second one simply says you should know the two variable and then find out the third variable. Okay, third variable. Now let's use the term marker variable. Now we are introduced with the term marker variable. What is a marker variable? A variable which is affected by the common method biasness. So are the common method biasness not affected by this independent variable, dependent? Are they not affected? Yes, they are affected. So we will assume there is a marker variable. Marker variable, what is a marker variable? How to select? We'll talk about that. First, let's learn the philosophy. There is a marker variable who has nothing to do with A and B. Absolutely zero correlation. Rule number one, not correlated at all. Now from that, what you will do, you will take along with it and you will see what is happening. Okay, let me give you one example for that. Say there are some sort of border clashes with India and any of the neighbor country. Okay, both the side shelling is done and everything is the border is very hot. So India says, okay, we'll do one thing. See, we don't do it. It's every time some neighbor will provoke us. How to do that? We'll say, let's call any of the BBC person from BBC, any correspondent, any news reporter, anybody. Now BBC, certainly they are not on our payroll. Independent third party we will take here. Okay, this is the independent third party, not related with it, not related with it. And let's just see Now, whatever effect they will see, that let's say my life is very insecure, bomb will come, this happened, this happened. So whatever this is feeling, the same they might be feeling. So we will note down this thing and then we will subtract it from here using partial correlation. So a term will be used now onwards. Please remember, whenever somebody say common method biasness, you please, a pop-up should come to your mind. Okay, he's talking about the marker variable. The only thing is about the marker variable. What is a marker variable? Marker variable is a variable having the 2-3 characteristics. What are the characteristics? Number one, it is not related with any of your variables of the study. Totally neutral, independent variable. Okay. Second, must be a priori. A priori means it's not that after the event has happened, now you say there is a variable. No. At the time of data collection, you must collect it along with the rest of the variable, so that whatever effect was there, the same effect comes here also. If I'm asking something about the Jubin, I will ask 1-2 more questions, and then we'll see what is the effect on that. And the same effect must have been here also. I will remove that. And the third thing here is, this must be, if I'll ask some questions from Jubin and one question very, very different, and Jubin will come to know this question is different, he will answer that differently. So for example, this BBC person, if the just like BBC person is coming with so many, then other person will also know this is a third person and we want to do anything. So the person by respondent should not know that this is a separate variable, this is a separate variable. So its appearance should be similar to that of your variable. What is meant by appearance? If you are asking on Likert scale, this should also be Likert scale. If you are asking for 5.7 point, this should also be 5.7 point. Whatever the protocols are there for this dress appearance, the same should be this, so that person may not recognize that, okay, this is a marker, I will reply separately, this is separately. Okay, so 3 things. Independent person, just like us, and first you know about that. Establishing this is paramount. How to say, saying in the context of country, BBC or third party or UN, that's okay. But in the variable, how will you say that this is a variable not connected? That is the most important question here. I can tell you about the methodology. I will tell you something about what the people have done about the marker variable, the philosophy behind the marker variable. I will talk about that also. But what is the methodology? Methodology, it says, measure it. Now you can measure it in 3 ways. The first way is you measure it. So let me come here. There are the 3 ways. What are the 3 ways to measure the variable? Number one, it's a variable. What's a new thing? Marker variable is a variable. No. Variable means you can measure it directly, just like age, height, etc. We'll put a box. There is a direct value. A second thing is marker variable is in itself a latent variable. Okay, so it means you will ask it from some sort of statements and then you have to decipher its value. A third thing, which is actually made very, very popular by Professor Gaskin. If anybody has seen Professor Gaskin video, he says you take the various variables, okay, and there are the statements. I assume you know about the Amos. If you don't know about the Amos, just listen. So Professor Gaskin now says, even he has made a plugin also, so that your life is very, very easy. He said, put a variable here and put an arrow to all of them. Okay. Now this is not a priori. It is something you are doing after the data collection has been done, and then check whether their significance has changed or not. Whose significance? This significance. How much? By 0.2. Where from this number comes? Arbitrary, any number. So, okay, that's the biggest criticism. How you decided 0.2? Why not 0.21, etc.? So you just change if there is any change. Common method biasness exists, else not. And Professor Gaskin says, in this scenario, you must, if there is biasness present, you must impute in the presence of this variable. Okay, so this is a priori. No, you are measured all and now putting an arrow and doing all this sort of stuff. This is the third approach. So 3 approaches are, the first approach, it says, shall I remove all sort of this? The first approach says, just check it here. You have a variable you can measure directly. Social desirability, general factor, etc. General factor is interesting. What they said, I think it was Podoscoff, etc. They said you apply exploratory factor analysis on all of the variable. Whatsoever save their score, whatever the first factor is there, remove its effect from all of them. Listen it once again. Measure A, measure B, measure C, etc. All of them. Apply EFA. Save the first score F1. Use F1 as control variable, because maximum things will come here. So common method biasness, if any, its effect will also be in the first one, because everything comes in the first one, majority comes here. So use first one as the control variable, and then factor common method biasness will go away. Fantastic. But what about the A and the B and the C? Their majority was also in the factor one, and that you have eliminated. That is totally misleading conclusions you are drawing out of it. That is general factor. No. Second one, ULMC. ULMC popularized by Professor Gaskin, which says put a circle, put an arrow on all and see if there are any changes. Not really good. And third one, a latent marker variable, means a marker variable which itself is a latent variable, which you will measure just like something else. So how people started with. So just like people said, you know, there is a social desirability. So some people said, okay, let's make the social desirability scale. So social desirability scale was constructed. So there are three sort of social desirability scale. One is most popular is that of Crony. This I have given here. You put it on just Google social desirability scale, that will come. So this paper where Ronald Holden, he actually compared the three, and he has given totally wonderful, very wonderful studies. He says three sort of scales are there. Jackson also say mine is social desirability. Edward also say mine is social desirability, and Crony also say mine is also the social desirability. But when checked, their results does not match. Do you understand? All are saying we are measuring social desirability. When all three are measuring the same thing, same scale, at least their results should match. Their results are not matching. Oh my God, this is another issue. How to go ahead with that? Okay. Some people said, well, this is the second one of social desirability scale you can find. Some said, okay, no, we will use this PANAS, positive and negative effect scales. They said we will make these scales. So you can find this paper, and their keys are also given. So that also did not work. The point is, it's okay. You remember we told there are the maybe 10-15 types of the problems. Out of the 10-15 time sort of the problems of biasness, you remove the positive negative, the other point was you measure it, take it as control variable and measure the variable. Well, it was an attempt, we appreciate, but really not good. And this is the third one, which is again not very fantastic. It's okay, people worked on it. So there comes a paper from Lindell, and Lindell was the first person who talked about the marker variable. So this is pre-marker variable. There are the three approaches. Herman single factor was the approach, correlation approach was there, and third was the partial correlation approach. And they were not very good. Marker was one. So there are certain methods about the marker variable, and then improved modified methods, which today we call comprehensive CFA marker approach, a very detailed approach. So it's not like something I will just simply say this is we will see it how to do it in Amos, how to do it in the smart PLS, and you will actually come to know that what you said and what actually things are there, and it will answer n number of things. So please remember, take home of today is only two things. Number one, when you measure anything, that is far more important than any of your regression, correlation, maybe your theories, or maybe anything else. What you measure, that's paramount. And please believe that will be contaminated. That will be contaminated. You have to take certain action on that. Second thing, whenever we talk about common method biasness, there is a marker variable. We'll talk about marker variable, how to do, how various people have done. Just remember, common method biasness means marker variable. Marker variable is a priori. At the time of data collection, you should go ahead. If you have already collected the data, no problem. You pretend you have never heard of common method biasness. You don't know. Just be shocked. Okay, what is it? I have never heard of. Okay, but if you have not collected the data, please collect the data. Side by side, I will say, please start thinking. Whatever you are doing, I know in the heart of heart, you also wonder at times, well, is it really research? We collected data from 200 person, applied cross-tabulation, applied SAM, and done. Well, that's research. Wow. And it's contributing nothing in the academia. Nobody is using our research. Nobody is giving you any attention. You are doing so much research and nobody is asking you anything about that. The point here is maybe we are not looking correctly. Biases are not removed. Try to have the same thing figure out from n number of the person. If you wish to ask from a student about the performance, about the motivation, about the leadership, ask motivation from the student, but ask performance of that student from the teacher. Different sampling units. Okay, this will again poses some problem. And can we do it in Amos? No, there are different softwares for that. But we can do a little bit in SPSS, etc. Software is not important. Concept is important. Think over it. Concept is important. When you say I measured something, you means I measured only that thing. And I know there are some sort of issues that's called reliability, but other things I know and I have tried my level best to control that. That is the essence of this.